Kicked off my shoes and tripped acid in the rain. And all I got a show for it is shoes and shows and chauffeurs with road rage. But what's better than tripping is falling in love. And what's better than Letterman, Leno, Fallon, and all the above? It's acid rap by Chance the Rapper. Welcome everyone to episode 3 of the Anthem Jam podcast. I am your host Jake Riffle, and each episode I'll be walking you through my top 3 song picks for a musical artist, album, genre, or whatever it may be. Since I can't feasibly insert the songs into each show legally, I'll introduce each song and then have a very small break, no more than a few seconds, where I invite you to pause the podcast and go listen to the song before we take a deep dive into it. Sorry for the delay on this one, folks. I'm a college student and life has been crazy busy the last few weeks, but I'm back with a banger. I absolutely adore this mixtape. It's damn near perfect, and there are way more than just 3 songs off of it that I could talk on and on about. But today, we're jamming out to the only hockey commentator who I would trust with my life, Chance the Rapper. We're switching it up today, and we're actually going to go into a little bit of detail behind the story of the mixtape itself. If you're like me when I was researching this, you're probably asking yourself what the difference is between a mixtape and an album. From what I found, it turns out that a mixtape is nearly synonymous with an album, but mixtapes are released for free to stream. The purpose behind this is to give the artist exposure to the largest audience possible. Chance chose to release this album for free to stream because touring is where he feels he shines most in his career. In fact, according to an interview Chancellor Bennett did with Hip Hop DX in 2013, he released the tape, which exploded in popularity, and then went on tour with Childish Gambino the next month. And then there's the namesake of the tape, acid rap, which stems from 2 different branches of inspiration for Bennett. The first, obviously, was Chance's use of LSD in the production of the album. In an interview Chance did in 2013 with MTV, he said the album was about 30% acid, clarifying that it served more as an inspiration than the subject of the mixtape. He said, quote, "It was more so just a booster, a bit of fuel. The tape's an allegory to acid, more so than just a tape about acid," unquote. Secondly, Bennett was heavily influenced by acid jazz, a musical genre which originated in the 1980s in London and is sometimes also called club jazz or jazz rap. While this genre may be implicitly influenced by LSD, it actually derives its name from yet another subgenre called acid house, a really bassy genre of electronic music which was born out of the DJ scene in Chicago in the 80s as well. Acid jazz is mostly defined by the heavier use of percussion and electronic drums compared to other jazz genres, causing it to blur the lines between EDM, hip-hop, jazz, and funk. A couple good examples of artists in this genre would be Jamiroquai and potentially even A Tribe Called Quest. And seeing as Mr. the Rapper comes from Chicago and continues to live there today, it's easy to see how this could influence Chance's style overall. This mixtape was an exercise in creativity for Bennett across several aspects. For starters, unlike his first mixtape, 10 Day, this album is not story-based, but is more music or composition-based. In that same interview with Hip Hop DX, Chance described the tape as, quote, "a whole different monster. It's me as an adult making great music instead of a kid trying to explain a story. It's less of a conceptual project. It's still very cohesive storytelling-wise, and it's its own project. But it's more music-based than story-based this time. I'm telling the story of what it's like coming out of high school, not going to college, and my experience with LSD. The new music that I started listening to has got a really heavy acid jazz bass to it. It's just really good songs. It's a collection of great songs, which is exactly what 10 Day is. But it's more of just a really good album than a story," unquote. Additionally, the cover art that fans of Chance adore actually comes from a picture that was taken of him by his friend while he was performing at South by Southwest, following the release of his 10 Day mixtape. But that's enough about the lineage of this album. Let's dive into our top 3 picks for today. Sometimes the truth don't rhyme, and that's alright with me because this is one of the most poetic and thought-provoking songs that Bennett has ever written. Number 3 today is Acid Rain. It's at this time, folks, that I invite you to pause the podcast, go listen to Acid Rain, and then check back. I love this song because it gives the listener a glimpse into Chance's mind, and if you're like me, this song really resonates with you. Chance explores the internal conflict within himself in this song, and paints the listener a portrait of growing up and making the transition from your teenage years to adulthood. Acid Rain describes Chance's view of himself as a young Christian man living in today's world, and in many ways is very similar to Paul's letter to the Romans in the Bible, specifically chapters 7 and 8. In the first part of the song, Bennett wrestles with his identity the same way Paul does, going back and forth on whether or not he views himself as a moral, righteous man. Romans 7 verses 15 through 19 very much parallel the lyrics of Acid Rain in saying, quote, "I do not understand what I do, for what I want to do, I do not do, but what I hate, I do. And if I do what I do not want to do, I agree that the law is good. And it is. It is no longer I myself who do it, but it is sin living in me. For I know that good itself does not dwell in me, that is, in my sinful nature. For I have the desire to do what is good, but I cannot carry it out. For I do not do the good I want to do, but the evil I do not want to do. This I keep on doing." Unquote. After much deliberation with himself discussing both his flaws and his redemptive qualities, Chance, just like Paul, remembers that his identity lies not in what he does, but what God has done for him. The lyrics, quote, "I am a new man, I am sanctified, I am holy, I have been baptized, I have been born again, I am the white light, rain, rain, don't go away," unquote, describe Bennett embracing this as his true identity, even if it may be hard for him to believe, similar again to Paul in Romans 8 verses 37 through 39. Also, as a side note, on October 9th of 2020, the rapper put out a virtual concert with this song as the opener, and it is beautiful, and is by far my favorite rendition of this song. A much different flavor than the previous track, this happy-go-lucky jam ironically comes in at number 2, its favorite song. I invite you again to pause the podcast, and this time to listen to Favorite Song. One of the most euphoric songs ever created, Favorite Song invites the listener back into an almost childlike state of play. The soul of the song is just pure fun and enjoyment. With the somewhat stream of consciousness lyrics, this song feels more like a freestyle rap that just so happened to be recorded while Bennett was messing around. And to further that feeling of play, what's a play date without a play mate? Childish Gambino, or Donald Glover, is featured on this track, and the back and forth between the two artists feels joyful and entertaining for the same reason improv or stand-up comedy is. Additionally, the song fits in extremely well with the overall goal of the album, being an allegory to acid. Now, I've never done acid, but I feel like the bright, colorful nature of the song paired with the lyrics that are seemingly random, which again adds to the enjoyment of this track, is a musical representation of what I and many others imagine LSD would be like. But our top track today is, in my opinion, the quintessential Chance the Rapper song, and it's his most popular song on Spotify right now for a reason. The song that I feel solidified the signature sound of Chancellor Bennett is Cocoa Butter Kisses. I now invite you to go and listen to our final song today, Cocoa Butter Kisses. Chance's lyrics, as well as Vic Mensa's and Twista's, again feel like they're written in a kind of stream of consciousness form, making this song feel like a freestyle rap as well. This gives the song an incredibly genuine feeling, and it's clear that the rappers are truly enjoying themselves while recording, which just invites the listener with open arms to lower their shoulders, take a deep breath, and smile. And then there's the composition of the music. Between the church organ in the opening and the chorus, the electric piano messing around in the background, the deep soulful bass, the exquisite drum beat, and the eruptive ad-libs that became the rapper's musical signature, this song does what I feel like a lot of rap songs fail to achieve. This song has depth, and no one instrument in this song is more important than another. They all add to each other. In a lot of rap songs, the drums and the instruments tend to fade into the background so that the lyrics are the focal point, which is a great way to tell a story, but doesn't necessarily make for a cohesive song. This song, and really Chance's music as a whole, is great for the same reason that music by Michael Jackson, Daft Punk, or hell even Led Zeppelin is great. It's because there's so much going on, and is perfectly put together. that it just makes your soul explode with joy. It's for this reason that Cocoa Butter Kisses stands proudly at number 1 for me. And not just for this album, but for Chance's music as a whole. I adore this masterpiece. Acid Rap by Chance the Rapper is charming in every sense of the word, and is one of those rare albums, or mixtapes, where there's not a single song on it that I don't enjoy listening to. This mixtape is immersive, covers an incredible range of emotions, and is just masterfully put together, and will forever have a very special place in my heart, and maybe after today, it will in yours too. Thank you all so much for listening to this episode of the Anthem Jam podcast. The intro song to the podcast is Veronica by the Denver, Colorado-based indie punk rock band Bad Nostalgia, so a huge thanks to them. These guys are great and I love their music, and I highly recommend checking them out on Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube. All my research was gathered from Wikipedia, unless stated otherwise. If you enjoyed the podcast, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts and tell someone about the podcast who you think might enjoy it. If you enjoyed the music in this episode, please check out Shelter by Vic Mensa, which features Chance. It has a really important message and is overall a great song. Next episode will hopefully be out by March 19th at the latest, and will be the first ever guest podcast we have for this show. As always, thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. That's what's up. Ah!